Hello and welcome everyone. In this video, we're going to instate unit in time and left. We place that back in the ready queue of time average weight, each having the arrived processes.
ठीक है,
Let's say P4
अब
and
यहाँ से
P2.
start होगा.
So let me explain to you how this is going to work. So in the examination, you will be given a question. For instance, we'll say that okay, you have 5 processes, each having the arrival time and processing time. And go ahead and calculate the completion time, average turnaround time, average waiting time, etc. So in order to solve this, we'll create 2 queues. One is ready queue and second is running queue. And then we'll start to solve this. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so let's say that at the time interval 0, 0, okay, in the running queue as well, we have 2 queues, ready queue and running queue. So in the ready queue, let's say at time 0, if there is any process that has arrived. So at time 0, we have a P1 arrive. So we'll first move that process in the ready queue. Once you move into the ready queue, from here it goes to the running queue. Okay. So we'll go ahead and put the P1 into the running queue. So we'll move that. And how long we are supposed to run it? Let's say that we have been given the quantum value of 2. Okay. Which means we are supposed to run each of these processes for 2 units only. Okay, so I would say maximum 2 units, right? Because there could be a scenario where a processing time is only 1. So in that case, we can't run that process for 2 units because the duration is only 1. So maximum 2 is what we want to do. So for P1, we'll run it 2 because its processing time is 3. So it's definitely can be run for 2 units. So we'll run it for 2 units. And once we run it for 2 units, we check at 2 unit of time or at 2 interval of time, are there any processes that have arrived? Yes, we can see that P2 has arrived, right? So if P2 has arrived, then we're going to place that P2 into the ready queue. So P2 goes ahead and moves to the ready queue, right? And then at that time unit, are there any other processes? No, there isn't. Okay. So since we've already executed P1 for the interval of 2, so what is remaining is 1, correct? Because already executed for 2 units, only 1 is remaining. So once we have brought whatever process had arrived at that point at the interval 2, we're going to put that in the ready queue. And then we also put P1 after that, not before that. It was not fair to put P1 before P2 because otherwise P1 will continue executing and it doesn't really make sense. We're not really going with the preemptive method then, because if we are allowing all the process, if we are allowing a process to execute fully, then we're not really following preemptive. It will become non-preemptive because it will get executed till its processing time. So we don't want that. We want preemptive. That's why we'll execute only for 2 units and then put that in the queue. So we'll give chance to P2 or other processes to be executed. So in this case, we put P1 over there. Okay, so this one is done. Now, what is next? We have P2, so we bring that in. Okay, so we bring P2, and how long we are supposed to run it? We're supposed to run it for 2 quantum because that's our quantum unit, which is 2. So that's why we will run it for 2 units. So how much is remaining now? So cancel that. So we have 4 remaining. So now at time, this becomes actually 4, not 2, because 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay. So at time interval 4, what do we have? So at time interval 4, we have 1, 2, 3 processes, right? Now P2 is already in the queue, so we can ignore that. What is not there is P3 and P4 because we already have these 2 processes which have arrived. At time interval 4, we already have these 2 processes which have already been arrived. So what we'll do is we'll put that in the same order. So make sure you put whatever comes first. Don't put P4 and P3 to be P3 and P4. So we'll put P3 and we'll put P4. Okay. So they go ahead and move over here. So P3 moves here, P4 moves here. They go inside of the ready queue. Okay. And then because P2 still have these 4 units remaining, it will be placed after these. So like we place the P1 after the other process that have arrived, similarly, we'll place the P2, whatever is remaining, after these 2 processes. Okay, so put P2 over here, right? So what next? Next one, we have P1, so we bring that into the running queue. We'll put P1. Now what's remaining time? The remaining time is only 1, right? So there's no need to run it for another 2 units because the remaining is only 1, so it doesn't make sense to run it for 2 units. So right for 1 unit, so it becomes 5. So remember the rule, you should run it for maximum 2 units, right? So in this case, it satisfies the condition. So we ran that. So P1 is done. So check, P1 is done. This becomes 0. That's fine. And now at time interval 5, what else do we have? So P3 and P4 are already inside of the ready queue. So we can leave that. P2 is also in the ready queue, so we can leave that as well. Now we have P5. Okay, so P5 is here, so we can put that in the ready queue. And P1 is already finished its execution, so we don't have to worry about it. We can just leave it like that. We don't have to execute it again, so we don't need to put it in ready queue because it's finished its execution already. There's nothing left here. Okay. So now next P3 comes in. So we'll bring P3 in and run it for 2 units. But we can't run it for 2 units, right? Because only one, its processing time is only 1. So it actually runs it for 1 unit, not 2. So 5 and then this becomes 6. All right. So then P3 is also done. Nothing is remaining, which is great. Now we come to P4. So we bring P4 in. P4 comes in. Its execution, its burst time is 4, so we can run it for 2 units as per rule. So 6 plus 2 is 8. 6 plus 2 is 8, so we run it for 2 units. Cancel 2, so the remaining is 2. Then, because there are no other processes which are already present, everything is here in the ready queue. That is why we can simply place P4 at the end, because we still have the remaining units from the processing time left. It's still supposed to execute, so we're placing it here. If we had any other processes that were not put in the ready queue, then we'll place them first and then place P4. But because we don't have any other processes, all the processes are already there in the ready queue, and some of them already executed, finished in their execution. That's why we can directly place the P4 over here. Okay. So now next, we'll bring P2 in. How long we'll run it for? So P2, we'll run it for another 2. So 2 is remaining. So 8 plus 2 is 10. So we'll run that. Remaining, we'll place it here. Okay. Then P5 comes in. So P5, we run it for 2 units, 2 remaining. P5, that becomes 12. And because there is a remaining 2, we'll put P5 over here. Okay. Then P4 comes into the ready queue, running queue. How long will you run it for? 2 units remaining. So now this becomes 0. This becomes 14. Then we'll bring P2 in. How much remaining? 2. We'll run for 2 units. P2, this becomes 16. And then finally, P5 comes in. How much remaining? 2 units. So now it's all done. So that becomes 18. Okay. So all the processes have finished their execution. Nothing remaining. You can see everything is 0 here. And we've actually created a running queue with proper intervals, right? Now we need to calculate the completion time. So when you think P1 completed, so start taking a look from the end, not from the start, because it might have started to execute and then it got interrupted because we brought another process in. That's why do not check it from the left, but check it from the right. So is there P1 here, P1, P1, P1? Okay, here's the P1. So it completed its execution at time interval 5, right? So we put 5 here, completion time is 5. When did P2 complete? So let's check it from behind. Here it is, P2 at 16. So we put 16 over here. Similarly, what time P3 completed? So P3, let's check it from behind, from the right hand side, at 6. 6 here. P4, 14. And P5, 18. Okay, so now let's calculate the turnaround time. Turnaround time is CT minus AT, which is completion time minus arrival time. 5 minus 0, 5. 16 minus 2, 14. 6 minus 3, 3. 14 minus 4 is 10. 18 minus 5 is 13. Okay, and then waiting time will be TAT minus PT, which means turnaround time minus processing time. So 5 minus 3. So 5 minus 3 is 2. 14 minus 6 is 8. 3 minus 1, 2. 10 minus 4, 6. 13 minus 4, 9. Okay, so in the examination, it will ask you, please calculate the turnaround, average turnaround time. So all you have to do is just make a total of this, whatever this total comes in. 5 plus 14 plus 3 plus 10 plus 13, and divide that by number of processes. There are 5 processes. So whatever that value comes in after calculating this, that becomes your average turnaround time. And similarly, you can calculate the average waiting time. So average waiting time becomes 2 plus 8 plus 2 plus 6 plus 9 divided by 5. That becomes your average waiting time. Right. So I hope the round robin scheduling algorithm is clear to you, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
So guys, समझ में आ गया?
Yes.
Okay. कौन समझाएगा इस बार? अभिजीत, इस बार तुम्हें ट्राई करना है?
ठीक है, कोशिश करता हूँ।
पहले बताओ कि राउंड रॉबिन में क्या मतलब, क्या एल्गोरिदम में क्या कहता है, क्या करना चाहिए एग्जैक्टली, मोटे मोटे तौर।
राउंड रॉबिन मुझे लगता है राउंड रॉबिन ये कह रहा है कि पहले जो आया वो खड़ा हो जाओ, उसका जो टाइम क्वांटम है उतना टाइम तुम चले उसको वो चलेगा, ठीक है। उसके बाद अगर कोई दूसरा मतलब प्रोग्राम आता है तो उसे चांस दिया जाएगा, और जो जिसका कंप्लीशन हो गया उसमें को लास्ट में भेज दिया जाएगा।
ठीक है,
ठीक है। इसके बाद फिर से जो जिसका हुआ टाइम क्वांटम, जैसे P3 है या P2 है, उसको भी 2 टाइम्स चलाएगा, उसके बाद फिर से उसको लास्ट में दे देंगे।
ठीक है।
इस तरह से लास्ट में देने के पहले अगर बीच में कोई प्रोसेस आ जाता है तो उसे लास्ट दिन में देने से पहले उससे आगे देना पड़ेगा।
करेक्ट। तो यही प्रिमिटिव शेड्यूलिंग है। प्रिमिटिव शेड्यूलिंग अभी हमने थोड़ी देर पहले पढ़ा था। तो क्या पढ़ा था कि अगर कोई प्रोग्राम चल रहा है तो वो इंटरप्ट हो सकता है, क्योंकि अगर हम इंटरप्ट नहीं होने देंगे, उसको चलाते रहेंगे, तो फिर वो नॉन प्रिमिटिव हो जाएगा। तो हमें फुली एग्जीक्यूट कोई जरूरी नहीं हो, अगर इंटरप्ट हो रहा है तो इंटरप्ट कर सकते हैं, यही प्रिमिटिव होता है, इसीलिए उसका नाम यहाँ पे प्रिमिटिव है। और इसका एग्जांपल राउंड रॉबिन है। राउंड रॉबिन जब भी होगा तो वो प्रिमिटिव होगा। ठीक है। सो मैं समझ में आ गया? ओके, गुड। कर लोगे एग्जाम में?
Yeah,
Yes?
I understood it. I've done some examples.
गुड। तो एक क्लास बचा है, उसको भी खत्म कर लेते हैं और उसके बाद फिर कल अपन अगले टॉपिक पे जाएंगे। तो लास्ट वाला बचा है शॉर्टेस्ट रिमेनिंग नेक्स्ट, शॉर्टेस्ट रिमेनिंग। काम करते हैं, इसको कल ही करते हैं। डाउनलोड होने में इसको कुछ ना कुछ तो 4 मिनट तो लगेगा इसको डाउनलोड होने में। तब तक हो सकता है हम इसको पढ़ लेते हैं क्या है एग्जैक्टली। जस्ट 1 सेकंड। शॉर्टेस्ट रिमेनिंग टाइम नेक्स्ट, SRTN जिसको कहते हैं, ये एल्गोरिथम है। ये प्रिमिटिव है। प्रिमिटिव का मतलब कि इंटरप्ट किया जा सकता है इसको। In this mode, it keeps checking if another process with shorter processing time has arrived. If yes, it preems the current executing process into the ready queue and brings the new process with the shorter processing time in the running state. तो ये क्या करेगा कि घड़ी घड़ी वो चेक करेगा कि कोई और प्रोसेस है क्या जिसका करंट वाले से शॉर्टर है प्रोसेसिंग टाइम। अगर है तो इसका रोक के उसको डाल देगा प्रोसेसिंग के लिए। It is also known as shortest remaining time first. या टाइम नेक्स्ट आए या टाइम फर्स्ट आए, दोनों का मतलब एक ही है। शॉर्टेस्ट रिमेनिंग टाइम भी इसका होता है, तो मतलब घुमा के पूछ सकता है कोई भी इसमें से, SRTF, SRT, SRTN। तो ये आता है, तीनों में से कोई भी आता है तो आपको पता है कि यही है उसका जो सॉल्व करना है। ठीक है, तो ये एग्जाम में इस तरह से दिया जाएगा। लेट मी सी डाउनलोड हो गया है कि नहीं। 3 मिनट बता रहा है। 3 मिनट वेट कर लेते हैं आई थिंक, so then we can start with inter-process communication tomorrow. तुम लोगों की तैयारी कैसे चल रही है? कहाँ तक हो गया तैयार सुमैया?
I've done about half of the operating systems portion.
ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम पूरा हो
I
गया?
didn't start computer. No,
ओके,
uh, uh, I did half.
हाफ हो गया, ओके। देन यू विल स्टार्ट द कंप्यूटर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन।
Yeah.
ओके ओके। कंप्यूटर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को मैं ऑफ कोर्स अगले हफ्ते तो कम ही दिन मिलने वाला है। आइडली देखा जाए तो मंडे ट्यूसडे। एग्जाम कब है? फ्राइडे को है ना? कैलेंडर, एग्जाम इज ऑन फ्राइडे।
Friday, Saturday, and Monday.
26 को कौन सा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है ना? 26 को कौन सा एग्जाम है, याद है? सीक्वेंस में ही होगा, बट MSc 201, MSc 202 क्या है? MSc 202, व्हाट इज MSc 202? टू
Yes. No, operating system is 203.
सॉरी,
Operating systems is 203.
ओ दैट मींस
MSc
कंप्यूटर
is
ऑर्गेनाइजेशन
203.
पहले आएगा क्या?
Sorry.
ओके ओके। तो हमें, मुझे लगता है कि इस वीक में ना ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम को थोड़ा होल्ड करके ना, आई एम थिंकिंग कि सैटरडे संडे हम लोग ये कर लेते हैं कंप्यूटर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, क्योंकि कंप्यूटर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए हमें ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं मिल रहा है। अगर 26 को है तो वी नॉट गेटिंग टाइम। ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम के लिए चलो बीच में एक एक दिन मिल जाएगा एक्स्ट्रा, बिकॉज 27 को कोई एग्जाम नहीं। तो आई थिंक मेरे हिसाब से सैटरडे संडे अपने को करना चाहिए कंप्यूटर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। व्हाट डू यू गाइस थिंक?
मुझे भी यही लगता है क्योंकि वही पेपर सबसे ज्यादा बड़ा है और सबसे कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है।
हम्म। तो अपन फ्राइडे तक करते हैं ये ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम। थोड़ा थोड़ा और टाइम में भी स्पेंड कर सकते हैं हम कल से। 1 घंटे की जगह 1.5 घंटा स्पेंड कर सकते हैं, जल्दी जल्दी टॉपिक खत्म कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि एग्जाम्पल वाले तो यही थे मेन जरूरी, बाकी सब तो आगे थ्योरी है। लेकिन कंप्यूटर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को टाइम देना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज इट्स क्वाइट बिग। 80 नहीं चाहिए उसमें। ठीक है, ये डाउनलोड हो गया है। I'll play it and then we'll call it a day after playing this. We won't take a recap of this one which I'm going to play because हमको एक concept तो समझ में आ ही गया है, so we'll just play this and then we'll call it a day. So let me stop share, start share again. Shortest remaining. Can you guys see it, right?
Hello and welcome everyone. Checking all this stuff. Okay, so in the Gantt chart, what we're going to do is we'll start with the time interval of 0 and we'll see which process have arrived at time interval 0. So you can see P1 has arrived, there are no other processes that have arrived at the time 0. So arrival time of P1 is 0, so we put P1 first. So we'll move the P1 from the ready state to the running state, which is will start its execution. And since it has 3 processing time, we are not going to run it for 3 units like we did in other scheduling algorithms. The reason for that is because this is preemptive. Preemptive means that we need to allow other processes also to get a chance of execution. And the rule that we have established is that it'll keep checking after every 1 unit of time in case if there's another process that has arrived, and if it has a shorter processing time than the one that's currently executing, then this will move back to the ready queue, and that particular process will come inside of the running state. Okay, so we'll run it for one interval, and we'll see at interval 1, are there any processes that have arrived? No, because all of these are 2 and above, so there's nothing else. So we'll run P1 for another 1 unit. And now, is there anything? So first we'll go ahead and cancel this. So earlier we had 2 remaining. So at this point we had 2 units remaining. And at this point now we have 1 unit remaining. So this actually becomes 2 because 1 plus 1 is 2. Yeah. So at 2 interval, are there any other processes? Let me see. Yeah, P2 has arrived now. Are there any others? No, there aren't. Now, when you need to, so how will you decide whether to bring in P2 or not? Well, it says that you first check if its processing time is the shortest. So what are the processes currently? So currently we have process P1, which is already in the running state, and then we have P2, which is in the ready queue, right? Now, P1 has 1 unit of time remaining, and P2 has 6 units of time remaining. So definitely we can't bring P2 in because its processing time is higher than the one that's currently being executed. So that is why we can't bring P2 in. So we'll have to let P1 get executed. So we'll put P1 over here. Like we said, we'll run for 1 unit of time each every time, and then we'll keep on checking. So we went for another 1 unit of time. So now we run that P1. So now P1 is done. It's finished its execution. Great. At time interval 3, let's find out if there are other processes that have arrived. Yes, P2 had already arrived. P3 has also arrived because they have the arrival time of 2 and 3 respectively, right? So now at this point, whom to bring in out of the 2? Well, the rule says shortest remaining time, right? So which has the shortest remaining time? Shortest remaining time. In fact, these are not even started yet, but you can see that this is got the shorter. This has got the P3 has got the shorter processing time. So that's why we bring P3 in. We run it for 1 unit. So this becomes 0. So P3 is done. It's finished its execution. At unit 4, which are the other processes? So at unit 4, we already have P2, and then we now have P4 as well. Now, which has the shortest remaining time? So P2 has 6 and P4 has 4. So definitely P4 wins. So P4 comes in here inside of the running state. And then we run it for 1 unit. So P4 becomes 3 now. Again, we'll compare at 5. Are there other processes that have arrived? Yes, they have. So at 5, interval 5, we also have P5 that has arrived. So which are the ones that are remaining? P4, P5, and P2. So which has got the shortest? So 6, 3, and 4. So definitely P4. So we can't let anyone else come into the ready queue. Sorry, running queue. So we have to bring in. We have to let P4 continue because its remaining time is less than the others. This has 6. This has 3. This has 4. So 3 wins, which is P4. We put P4 over here. Run it for another 1. That becomes 6. Now P4 becomes 2. Again, we'll have to let it run because, of course, we can clearly see that it's not going to happen. So we continue P4, run it for another 1. That becomes 7. And then finally run it for another 1. So that becomes 8. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So run it for 4 units of time. Then at 8, we have P2 and P5. So P4 is done. Which has got the shortest remaining time? Of definitely P5. So we'll let P5 run. So now I can, instead of just making it 9, 10, 11, 12, you know that there's no any other competition. The competition is only between these 2. And clearly P5 will win each time because it's got a shorter processing time, the remaining time, right? So I'll let P5 run for 4 units because it makes sense. It doesn't make sense to keep writing 9, 10, 11. I can just say 8 plus 4, which is 12. Okay. So P5 is done. Okay. And the only thing remaining is P2. So bring P2 in, and that's got 6 time units. So 12 plus 6 is 18. And that's sorted. All right. So let's calculate the completion time. So when did P1 get completed? Let's look at from behind. So we have P1 at 3 interval. Okay. Then P2, well, P2 got completed at 18. So 18, right? P3 got completed at 4. Put 4 over here. And P4 got completed at 8. So we put 8 over here, and P5 got completed at 12. So put 12 over here. Calculate the.
Okay, guys. So I'm stopping the share. Now you already know what's going to happen next. You can calculate the turnaround time, waiting time. It's the same
Yes.
calculation like the others. So I would say the main difference between round robin and shortest time is that in shortest time next, we are going just one interval, one by one, one interval each. However, in round robin, whatever they have given us, whether they've given us 1, 2, whatever that number they have given us, we're going to run it for that particular time. Another difference between the two is that in the round robin, we are not going by the concept of shortest remaining time, which means when we just put them in the queue as they come in, it doesn't matter who has got short time or more time, doesn't matter. We don't go by that algorithm. We just keep shoving them in the queue as they come in, and if one of them has remaining time left, then we put that back in the queue after the previous ones. So this is the main difference between two. Sorry,
The process that's waiting the most
Yeah.
is put in running first in round robin.
Process that, can you repeat that once again?
That has the longest waiting time.
Okay.
That's been in the ready queue for the longest time.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Do you guys have any questions?
No.
Okay, awesome. So guys, thank you so much for joining in today. Let's get back tomorrow as well. And we'll start
you.
with the other theory, and I'll put this recording for you guys later. Okay. Thanks, guys.
हाँ, एक चीज रुको
बोलो
सामने वाला काट देना है।
क्या?
मतलब पहले का जो रिकॉर्डिंग का जो पार्ट था ना वो काट के दे, नहीं तो बोलेंगे कि तुम पायरेटेड मतलब सॉफ्टवेयर क्या YouTube पर प्रमोशन कर रहे हो। समझ आया?
नहीं
तुम्हारा
समझा।
मेरा क्या बात हुआ था
क्या?
मैक में पायरेटेड सॉफ्टवेयर चलता है।
हाँ।
तो वो लोग हमने YouTube मतलब वीडियो में बात किया था ना।
रुको, पहले रिकॉर्डिंग स्टॉप करने दो।